And welcome to Nocturnal Frequency Radio. You're live exclusively on the New Visions Radio Network. And we're finally back. It's been, 3 weeks? Yeah, 3 weeks, Alex.
Yeah, about 3 weeks, yeah.
3
Since
weeks.
You were in Florida.
Yeah, basking in the sun.
I'm missing my birthday yet again.
Yeah, but hey, a bottle of Lucifer.
Hey, I'm waiting.
So what did you do? What have you been up
just
to?
The usual.
Just the usual?
Just the usual. Yeah, that's right. That's all I do.
Well, the nothing, right?
Yeah, I've been reading Corpsewood.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having Dan on. That's another interesting. I don't know. It's just an odd. When I first heard about that case, I was just wow.
Yeah, I've never heard of it until you brought it up that day, and I had to look into it, and I bought the book, and it's a big book. It's over 700 pages.
You're kidding?
No, 700 pages. Well, I mean, mind you, the last maybe 20 pages or 25 pages are all pictures or from the case itself when it went to court and all of that stuff. But it's at the very least it's about 700 pages written, and then maybe a few pages of like pictures.
So how far did you say you're through it now?
I'm just over the halfway mark.
The halfway mark. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like a regular novel.
No, yeah.
350 pages. Wow.
Yeah, actually over 400 right now. So yeah, just over half, maybe close to 3/4.
Well, I guess we should send out get well to one of our regular guests, our good friend Chris Hawley,
yes.
who's recovering now, who I believe is in rehab from some heart condition, I believe.
That's right.
So,
and we will both wish her speedy recovery, and all our thoughts and prayers are with her.
Yes, because when she's better, she needs to come back on. We have to have her back on the show.
That's right.
Yeah, so get well, Chris. We're not going to take too much time here. We just want to thank everybody for tuning in this evening. Once again, if you'd like to follow us on Twitter, it's at Dark Discussions. Join us in our Facebook group at just simply type in Nocturnal Frequency Radio in the search box on Facebook, and of course here on newvisionsradio.com. And if you go to the Facebook group, you will see the link to join us in our live chat. If you have any questions, comments, or anything that you'd like to add there, you can do so by following that link and joining us. And you can listen live through that link as well. Tonight we're going to return to a subject that we haven't done in a while, so it's going to be cool to sort of freshen what we don't know.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
we do know some stuff, obviously, but basically touching the surface, because I mean this is this is a rabbit hole that is really, really deep. And we're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff from geoengineering to chemtrails to weather modification, whatever. It's all tied in there, and we're going to talk to Matt Landman, who's got a film, Frankenskies, who again touches upon all of that and more. So we're going to pick his brain about the movie and the subjects at hand. So, you know what? I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, like I said, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yes.
It's been a while. We've had Jerry. Jerry Smith was on. God, that was a long time ago. And we were talking about Haarp and chemtrails and weather warfare and modification and all that kind of stuff.
Just for the record, I'm horrible with names.
You're horrible with names.
Yeah, I wouldn't have remembered that name.
Really?
I'm bad with names. I have to hear them at least a few times before it registers and it sticks in my brain for some odd reason.
Yeah. Well, it was a while ago. It was quite a while ago. It was obviously before he passed away. Mm-hmm. I believe it was 2011? 2010 or 2011 we had him on the show.
Wow, I can't believe it's been that long.
It's been a long time. Yeah. And we've had a few people on talking about related stuff. So this is going to be really cool tonight, sort of bringing it all together and sort of breaking it all out and letting you guys know, in case you guys have no idea, you're living in your own little personal bubble, I don't know. If you have no idea what chemtrails are, or geoengineering, whatever, you have no idea. You don't want to go anywhere. Plus, we have Alex.
Yes.
We've got a contest going up this week, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
So we're going to get more into that in a bit. So don't go anywhere. We're going to
stay tuned to all our like the Facebook group and Twitter, and you can find out more info as it comes out.
Yes, exactly. So don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we are going to have Matt Landman. So hold tight. We'll be right back. This is Nocturnal Frequency Radio, live on the New Visions Radio Network. Thank you.
This is Keith Age, and you're listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Enjoy.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens due to the crisis that is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments. At this hour, we repeat, these are the facts as we know them. There is an epidemic of mass murder being committed by a virtual army of unidentified assassins. The murders are taking place in villages and cities, and rural homes and suburbs with no apparent pattern nor reason for the slayings. It seems to be a sudden general explosion of mass homicide. Of mass homicide.
And welcome back to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here on New Visions Radio. It looks like welcome back to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here on. It looks like Steve's MIA again. I think he's having some problems with his internet, so we'll try to get him back on. But without any further ado, let's bring Matt Landman in. Matt, welcome on board. Get him back on. But without any further ado, let's bring Matt Landman in. Matt, welcome on board. Get him back on. But without any further ado, let's bring. Oh, there seems to be a bit of a feedback there. Get him back on. But without any further ado, there seems to be a bit of a feedback there.
All right, sorry about that, folks. We had an internet crash. We seem to be okay now. I've got Matt here back with me. Welcome back, Matt. Matt, sorry about that.
Hey, no problem. Thank you for having me still.
Yeah, I just want to apologize to everyone who's tuned in, and all of a sudden, bang, silence. We're here, though. We're here. Hopefully, Alex will be back. Alex is going to be back for the second hour, so we'll take a pause in about 15 minutes. But we're gonna get this going, Matt. Okay, so let's start. Okay, you've got Okay, what's the status of Frankenskies? Okay, let's start. Okay, you've got Okay, what's the status of Frankenskies? Okay, let's start. Okay.
Okay, hold on. Is that me? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking. So yeah, Frankenskies is a documentary that I filmed all last year and the year previous. We're just about done editing it, and I'm premiering it in Portland, Oregon on April 15th at this conference, and then I'll be screening it again at the Global Chemtrail Summit May 7th. So it's just about done. I launched a crowdfund and was a little disappointed by the numbers of people that donated $15 for a DVD. But I am shipping out 100 DVDs mid-April when we premiere. So it's pretty much done. We're just working out the intro, really trying to make it look nice.
And okay, so let's get that. It's the GoFundMe. You got it through GoFundMe, right?
Yeah, GoFundMe.com/Frankenskies.
Okay, guys, go there right now and get your copy or more, man. Support this because, okay, well, we're going to get it because not everybody knows what chemtrails are. Right. So let's sort of give the basic scenario of chemtrails, the difference between that and, say, contrails and all sorts of the wonderful stuff there when it comes to chemtrails.
Okay. So that's actually we could talk the whole 2 hours about.
Yeah.
So Well, it's actually really fascinating because there's been so much news out, right, Steve? The past couple days, they have through Harvard and Bill Gates and this Royal Society out of Britain, they have stated that they're going to be doing it. That it's basically disclosure now. So the whole game is completely shifted as of yesterday. So before yesterday, what I would say is there's a multi-tiered operation going on to block out your sun to supposedly prevent global warming. Okay, so it's called solar radiation management. There's governance. There's a solar radiation management governance initiative that started a few years back. Okay, there's also weather warfare, where they target different places with hurricanes, where they target different places with drought, and they even flooded the Contrail in Vietnam, and the weather warfare aspect of it goes back decades and decades. There's also aerosol spraying for certain regions to experiment on the people. Portland was sprayed with lithium, and different areas get tested on. So that's kind of like a chemical aerosol assault, and it's still weather warfare. Well, no, it's different. It's biological weaponry, and such, and chemical weapons. And then what else is there? I said weather control. I said poisoning the population and experimenting on them. I said blocking out the sun. So those are the three main things. And then ultimately what they want to do further down the line is it seems like they want to control the frequency of the ionosphere completely. Okay? So after yesterday, I would say, well, through Harvard and Bill Gates, there's an agenda at play. And they have come together to claim that they need to block out our sun to prevent global warming, and that they're doing a preemptive attack or a preemptive campaign to slow the heating of the planet. Okay, so they're making these assumptions that A, they can slow the heating down, B, the planet is actually heating, because that's still up for debate, and C, that they have the right to do so. So through the Buffett Foundation, so it's like these rich, these elitists. So it's Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and a few other bozos. They're getting together and trying to be in control of everything, including the water on Earth, dictate who gets drought, who doesn't. And they came together, and they, through Chicago at Northwestern University, there's this paper written titled, what is the title? The Exclusive Rights to Saving the Planet Through the Patenting of Geoengineering Technologies. And this paper claims that scientists in the United States have the exclusive rights to saving the planet by blocking the sun. They claim that they have to do it because they can, basically. And so they've got this huge push in patents, whereas we were seeing 20 patents a year in geoengineering, which solar geoengineering is a fancy word for chemtrails, right? They start messing with the terms, and it gets really complicated because there's the tropospheric aerosol program and all these other big words. But ultimately, what solar geoengineering is administering aerosols via jets in these patented cloud formations using reflective metallic particles to block out our sun. So, yeah, I'm just babbling now. So,
well, let me ask you. I mean, this is something that's been admitted by several governments in terms of spraying different types of chemicals, right? I mean, this has been admitted.
Oh yeah, no, the CIA director.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, you talking about just spraying the population, or are you talking about the reflecting?
No, we'll start with spraying the general population.
Well, yeah, that goes way back, and in my documentary Frankenskies, we touch upon that, because the thing is a lot of people, what they say is they would never do that to us, okay? And if they knew the history and they can see that they've done it to us, then they can, within reason, believe that they could and will and can and do. Mm-hmm. So in St. Louis, it was now 50 years ago,
Yeah.
the CIA, and this is admitted, and there was an investigative report that I have clips of that's on YouTube, and this woman got really passionate about it, this journalist, and researched it. And this is just one example, okay? Like NASA admits that they sprayed lithium over Portland. And this is just in the United States, not to mention, abroad, like think about what we do to our enemies. This is our people. So the CIA went into St. Louis and they set up sprayers on top of buildings. Mm-hmm. They also used airplanes, and they also used station wagons. Station wagons. At ground level, and went through and sprayed the ghettos, primarily youth, primarily African American. They sprayed the ghettos with these certain chemicals to see how many people went to the hospital, see how many people got cancer, see what it did to these people.
Wow.
They set up in the United States. They literally were going through the streets with station wagons, and they targeted certain areas and then saw what it did, because they needed to test their biological weapons before they used them on their enemies.
And I mean, this is documented stuff. I mean, this isn't made up. This is documented stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, no, there's a paper trail. There's full. I mean, it seems like after about a generation that people kind of lose touch with things, and so they can talk about it. And even nowadays, like you talk about 9/11 to someone that's 20, and it's already so long ago that it doesn't really matter to them.
Yeah. Now, and I'm sure with Frankenskies, I'm not sure if you touch base with it on Frankenskies. And by the way, I can't wait to see this.
Cool.
I've been looking forward to this. So, we're talking about, the massive effects that this is having on the general public. And obviously the spike in, and like, I know in the UK, for instance, what is it? What am I thinking here?
Alzheimer's?
Alzheimer's, and what's the other one I'm trying to think of?
Dementia.
Dementia. That's it. Is that not the leading cause of death? And how is that linked to all of this?
Well, the UK gets it really bad. I had the chat window up. I know there's I don't know if Claire's still there, but she's in the UK. I had a few people from Facebook and whatnot come into your chat.
Okay. And
that was going to be cool. I'll get back in there in a second. I just think that it was I was hearing a little bit of the loop.
The feedback.
So I do these. Okay, so it's a big story of the UK thing. So let me just frame this.
Okay. So
I do these presentations. Okay, I've done about 15 presentations in the past couple years now. Mm-hmm. And I did one you're up in Canada, right?
Yep.
So I had a really large, successful one in Vancouver last year, the first annual Global Chemtrail Summit. But the most recent one that I did just a couple, 3-4 months ago was in Eugene, Oregon. Okay. And afterwards, a gentleman approached me, and he said, and I never thought about this, he said, do you think that the chemtrail is an attack on certain certain ethnicities?
Okay.
And I never had thought about it, and I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he says, well, why does the United Kingdom get it so bad, right? Mm-hmm. And so it made me start thinking about it, and maybe the United Kingdom is just a perfect place to experiment because they can lay so much of it out at sea, and then it floats on over. But they do get it really, really bad. Okay, there's an activist named Patrick Roddy, Roddie. He has a website, stopsprayingus.com. I follow him. He's a buddy of mine. He's out of San Francisco. I follow him online. He posts the satellite imagery of all over the world of heavy sprays and where they are, and then you see the lines, and then you see them unfolding and being zapped with the Haarp, and then they ripple, and you can see it from a larger perspective because usually just looking up, you can't really put it all together as much as you could from a larger degree.
Yeah.
So the UK really gets it bad. And I was wondering why, and I kept trying to really get down to it. And then people have reached out to me, and they've said that, okay, so they test different biological agents, and they're public with it, okay? And they come out and it's people can't link it. All right. So London had recently a toxic fog. Okay. And that evening, people from London were showing me this gruesome chemtrail scene, and then the news comes out: toxic fog, don't go outside, and it's called killer fog, and it killed like 5 people or something, right?
Yeah.
And the one that really got to me was there was a heavy spray, and then people's animals started dying. All right. And the entire poultry industry had this massive die-off of chickens. So, and I correlated it to this heavy spray because people were showing me these, like when you see it and it's just insane and it's just a grid pattern on top of a grid pattern on top of a grid pattern, and then people are going to the hospital and stuff like that. It's not even correlation anymore, you know. It's like it's causation in my eyes after enough time. But what happened is some people were sending me photos, and I was seeing, oh wow, they're spraying a lot over London today. And then an article was released that said to put your birds inside if you didn't want them to get avian flu. So farmers were warned via millions of people received this article. You know, it's like public, and they were told to put their birds inside. You know what I mean? So there's biological agents of flu agents being tested on the populace, and they're warning the people to put their birds inside, but not telling the people what they're doing. And so different articles have come out recently out of the UK. One of them talking about metallic nanoparticles in people's brains, and that was causing the dementia. So people aren't linking it, and they're saying, well, we don't know where all of this metallic nanodust is coming from, getting in people's brains. And then at the end of the article, they say, well, it must be coming from the brake pads from people's brakes. You know what I mean? It's like they're getting sprayed all day long with patented nanodust.
Wow.
That is metallic. Metallic is aluminum, barium, strontium are the primaries coming up in the rainwater analysis, and these are patented for the weather modification and for the albedo enhancement, which means the albedo is the reflectivity of the Earth's atmosphere. So they're trying to make the Earth's atmosphere more reflective to give us less sunlight because they're claiming that they're saving us, you know. But not all of it is staying up in the atmosphere. And even these scumbags like David Keith, the primary solar geoengineers, I've got a paper in front of me, I mean on my laptop that I can pull up right here, that I've read over and over and over, and he even says they don't know how much of it stays in the atmosphere and how much of it falls to the ground.
To them,
you know?
it doesn't matter to them. They don't care.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't. And then they say that this is a quote: "Our model is not equipped to handle multi-component solid particles and their interaction with gases." So they don't even know what these particles are doing and how they're interacting with the gases in the atmosphere. They're just putting them up there and quote. Using the atmosphere as a laboratory. That's a quote.
Okay, for the average listener tonight, the listeners tonight that still haven't got a clue what we're talking about with chemtrails. What do they need to look for in the sky as opposed to? I'm sure everybody, well, most people know what a contrail is or what it looks like. What's the difference between a contrail and a chemtrail?
Okay, and thank you for slowing me down and asking these questions. It's like I get so well. There's so much information.
Well, that's
right?
great. We need to get all that information out. So
it's so layered.
Yeah,
it's so layered. So, the most identifiable thing when comparing the two is the duration that the line stays in the sky for. A normal contrail will immediately dissipate.
Yeah.
It won't last very long. Now, there is a little controversy over how long the lines dissipate based on the atmospheric conditions, the humidity, right, in the atmosphere at the time that the plane goes by. There's a claim that if there's over a certain level of humidity, then that's more prone for a persistent linear cirrus cloud to be formed. Okay. So because of all this science, and then people get confused, and it's just like they're bombarded with all this information, right? And so I'd like to pause there and just quickly go to 9/11, okay, because It's just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
When I'm doing my grassroots activism stuff and I talk to people that are younger, and they're like, oh, I've heard a lot of things about chemtrails, and I'm like, but they're real, they're bad. I've heard a lot of things. I'm like, well, what about 9/11? Let's start there.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, well, I've heard a lot of things about that. And I'm like, yeah, well, what have you heard? Well, I've heard both sides. And I'm like, and like, well, I don't have enough. I don't know. I can't formulate an opinion because I've just got all this information from both sides. And who am I to be the judge of that? And it happened when I was 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, what about chemtrails? And they're like, okay, I'll look it up. And then maybe I see them later. Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what happened? And they're like, well, there's 2 sides to it. There's all this information, and I'm no scientist. And so they basically, for a lot of those things, it's the same formula can be applied to vaccines, to a lot of stuff. Is what happens is these people are bombarded with information from both sides, okay? And they just would rather be cognitively dissonant to it all. So it's like I can sit here and tell you the barometric pressure of XYZ, da-da-da-da-da, and confuse the crap out of you. Or what I like to really point out is, this is like number 1, is the abnormal uptick in air traffic. Okay.
Yep.
So what you've got days. So this is really what I would want people to look out for. Like you can look at the sky and be like, oh, is that a chemtrail? Oh, is that a contrail? That's cool. That's fine. Have fun with that. And please, when you see something that lasts in the sky for hours and fades into a haze and then the sky gets dark, maybe consider that that's been patented and that those are metallic particles and stuff like that, because that is what's going on. But don't take my word for it.
You know what, Matt? Just hold on a sec. When you're talking about the metallic particles, right?
Huh?
I remember a few years ago, I picked up a Sony Handycam from, I think it was from the late 80s. I bought it at a pawn shop. And I retrofitted it with an X-ray lens. Okay? Mm-hmm. And these X-ray lenses, they used to be on the Sony Handycam years ago. And they took them off because they were claiming people were looking under people's clothes and all this kind of stuff. When realistically, you could see stuff that you weren't supposed to see. Now, I remember taking it out on a bright, sunny day because the lens I had was for full sunlight. And you put it into night mode, and you look up in the sky. You record, and I remember recording a plane going, one of the stratosphere planes, with the Contrail, Chemtrail, whatever you want to. But you could literally see the particles dropping in the sky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen footage of that. It's remarkable. It's
the most eeriest thing. And here we are, most of us live our daily lives without even thinking to educate yourself about that stuff actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Just thought I'd throw it in there. When you said the particle, the medical particles, like I have footage of it. It's just the eeriest stuff.
I was actually watching a video just last night. A person out of Oklahoma was showing it, and they were zooming in pretty high, to show it that it wasn't falling at ground level, and it's pretty obvious that it's just fallout from that because they can't get it to all stay up there. It's raining down, and what it's doing is it's messing with the plants, it's messing with the groundwater, it's messing with the pH of the soil. Mm-hmm. Aluminum, which is their primary, it disrupts the uptake of water into plants and trees. That's why we have all this tree die-off on the West Coast. Yeah. People who are into it, what I like to say is the first thing is to notice the patterns, okay? Some days you'll have a blue sky with no air traffic. Forget the lines, Notice that there's a blue sky with no air traffic. And then on that same day of the week, at that same time of day, on another day, you'll see an onslaught. You'll see dozens of planes gridding the sky. Now, what sense would that make if it was just regular air traffic. You wouldn't have planes zigzagging all over the place on Monday at noon, and then next week, Monday at noon, it's a clear, blue, beautiful sky with no air traffic at all. I don't care what the humidity rates or whatever are. We're talking about physical planes, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where I really like to begin. And then once people start acknowledging that, they're curious for more information, and they want to feed that truth, you know. But it takes people actually experiencing it for themselves most of the time to get there, to really want to learn more.
You're hearing a lot more of it, though. I mean, at least I am. I'm hearing a lot more people come out and say, I mean, did you see the sky yesterday, or did you see the sky today? It was like, it was a bright sunny day, and then all of a sudden, bang! These lines in the sky were basically, covering up stuff. It's weird. It's just crazy how much more people are aware of this.
Yeah, the numbers are ever growing. When did you find out about it, and how did that happen?
I've known about chemtrails for a long time. I mean, I've been following. I mean, I'm not an expert. Don't get me wrong, but I try to keep up with what's going on. And again, hence when I found how I found out about you and Frankenskies was our good friend Clyde Lewis.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, right. I was listening to the show Ground Zero when you're on there. I believe Patrick was on there as well. Great show, by the way. And I said, you know what? I got to have Matt on the show, man. I'd love to do a show about chemtrails and all that kind of stuff again. And like I said, I'd say it's got to be at least 15 years for me.
Cool.
Roughly.
And did you see something, or somebody mentioned it to you, or what?
I can't remember exactly where it came into my consciousness, but I remember. I just remember looking at the sky one day and going, you know what? Those are, look at Contrail is vapor, and it dissipates quickly. That it's math. I mean, it's supposed to dissipate,
and it always has.
And it always has. And then all of a sudden, I just started seeing these lines in the sky that were hanging around it and expanding. Not dissipating, but expanding. And I'm like, that is weird, man. I mean, to me, it wasn't right. So, of course, that's when I started going down that rabbit hole.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
So, and who was the guest that you had before? I'm not even familiar.
Jerry E. Smith. He wrote a book called Weather Warfare. He's no longer with us, but he was really, really on the ball when it came. Sorry?
He's no longer with us because he passed away?
He passed away. He was really into researching weather warfare, weather modification, and Haarp. He was really, really on the Haarp ball. And we do have the archives are way back. Oh, God. I think it was 2010, I believe we had him on the show. But it was really, really good. He really knew his stuff. So,
how did he die, do you know?
I don't know offhand. I could not tell you. And he was not that old. He wasn't very old at all. I believe he was in his late 50s, early 60s, around there.
Because
probably in his 60s, yeah.
Yeah, he was in his early 60s, I believe.
There was a camp of people who were really outspoken who died mysteriously. Have you heard of Ted Gunderson?
That name sounds familiar, yes.
Ted Gunderson was exposing this about a decade ago, and he was really loud. He had a website, and he was a former FBI chief of L.A. and Houston, and he was identifying the planes and where they were flying out of and everything. And then his heart exploded, So I think that there was we were on the verge of a mass awakening to it about 10 years ago, I believe, and then the people that were getting loud enough were discredited and in my eyes taken out, and then some fake activists and whatnot kind of stepped in, and and the whole movement's kind of just been splintered and kind of messed with, and now people are in this little disarray, and they're coming out with all this newer technology, and they're coming out with the fact that they're actually needing to do it, and we're supposed to be thankful for it and such. What do you all know about Haarp? That's all pretty interesting.
Haarp, I know they recently, somebody put it out there. Yes, it was written by Jerry E. Smith. We had him on the show. Incredible human being, well versed in weather modification. That was just John just posted that in our chat. Haarp, Haarp. What I knew about, I've heard about Haarp in the past, and again, it was Jerry who brought more light to the situation. How it's again sort of really, really, really messing up the atmosphere. And from what I understand, did they just start it back up? Because wasn't it down for a while?
Yeah, they started it back up not too long ago. Yeah. Or at the very least, they're planning on it.
So they shut it. There was one in Alaska.
Or at the very least, they're planning on it.
How do I do this?
There was one in Alaska.
Okay, I can't.
You can. I think there's a player on the page too. You could probably just.
I just stop it. Okay, cool. I'll just stop it. So the deal is, let's see if I can not hear me talk at the same time. There's a player, you say. Let's see if I can not hear me.
It's on the top left-hand side.
Top left-hand side, yes.
It's on the top left-hand side. Top left-hand side. It's on the.
Okay, sorry, everyone. I can't do both.
That's okay.
I'm not technically comparable or competent. Okay, so the Haarp situation. Again, they let this information get out. A lot of people heard that they were shutting it down. So then people like me come along talking about Haarp, and they're like, "Oh, I learned about that, and they shut that down." What they did is they turned it off because they built 12 other ones around the planet. There's now like 15. So one of the activists, Jim Lee, he'll be speaking at the second Global Chemtrails Summit in Portland, Oregon, May 7th. We have a nice lineup. But Jim Lee is an expert in Haarp, and he has this website, Climate Viewer. ClimateViewer.com, and there's an interactive map, and it'll show you all the Haarp stations on Earth.
Oh wow!
And they're in full force, and they've got Haarp stations that are mobile, that are on boats. They've got them on islands in the Pacific and stuff, and they really, really mess with the ionosphere. And they're public about ionospheric steering.
What the original, was it not in Alaska? The original Haarp project?
Yeah, the original one was in Alaska, and the original intent was to be able to bend the ionosphere to take out like an enemy satellite and such, through heating it. So Haarp's technology. So I can kind of simplify it. This is something that I'm thinking I'm getting better at least, is simplifying some of the stuff, because it's such dense information, right? Try explaining Haarp to somebody that doesn't even think that there's chemtrails, okay? So just go back to your memory bank, watching the weather on the news, and there's these H's and L's, right? The high and low pressure. And high pressure is upward air, hot air rising. Low pressure is cold air sinking. Well, if you can make high pressure, you can steer around weather patterns, right? You can make it really hot in places. You can actually really get good at controlling the weather if you can just make high pressure bubbles wherever you want. And with this Tesla technology, essentially.
And this is, let's sort of briefly go over this. This is technology that Tesla is behind.
Mm-hmm. So what they do is it's actually really simple. They get their planes or drones, or even they'll put some tanks and subcontract some airlines maybe, or there's all sorts of weather modification companies you can hire. If you've got enough money, you can make it sunny wherever you go. If you've got enough money, you can make it sunny every day for you, which is crazy. I mean, that's public information. So, but either way, what they do is they take their drones or their planes or whatever, they spray up in the skies metallic dust, And because it's metallic, they can heat it up with these frequencies. So they have this antenna array, which is like a big grid of antennas, and they focus these frequencies and they point them at the metallics. So say they spray a bunch of metallics over your city, and then they pulse this frequency through it, and you can see the ripple. This ripple forms in that metallic haze. Like if you see a full-on time lapse of it, they come, they grid the sky, it turns into a haze, they zap it, and it shows the frequency ripple.
Yeah. I've seen some actual aerial photographs. It's incredible. It's eerie as hell.
And all they're doing, and people will say, oh, they're trying to brainwash you and all this stuff. Let's just keep it simple. They're making heat. That's all they're doing. And by heating the metallics, they can create a high pressure. Okay, you heat the atmosphere, the heat goes up, the bottom air below it goes up, and now you've created a high pressure system. So they do that to create a heat wave, to push their global warming agenda. They do that to create drought over their enemies. Even President of Iran, President Ahmadinejad, he came out publicly a few years ago and says, I was contacted by these scientists out of Europe. They say that there's weather modification, that they're stealing the rain, making the rain fall, and manipulating the jet stream before it gets to Iran. I thought they were crazy, but I looked into it, and Europe is totally making a drought in my country. Like they empty the clouds and they make it hot. And are you guys Fahrenheit over there? I'm just going to say this in Fahrenheit.
Go ahead. We're Celsius, but go ahead.
Iran got up to 150 degrees.
Holy.
They're breaking records over there because they're being attacked with the weather weaponry.
There goes your burritos, Alex.
That makes them better.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
What's the burritos?
Oh, it's
an inside joke.
It's an inside with him, so sorry about that. Go ahead.
Right on. No, it's cool. So I've witnessed this. I've witnessed a heat wave. I literally witnessed this. It was I was working on a farm.
Yeah.
And I was outside, and a lot of my experiences have been working outside. That is how I woke up to chemtrails. I witnessed them continuously create drought over this California farm I was working on, and I just all of a sudden I just woke up to the fact that the planes came, they gridded the sky, and the storms came and didn't drop any rain, but the storms were supposed to drop rain. And this happened for 8 years until we were in this critical drought, And now in California, they've put 100 feet of snow in the Sierras, and they're probably just going to flood the whole place once the snow melts in the summer, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, it's insane. Just even some of the, quote unquote, regular weather patterns are just all over the place. I mean, look at just a couple days ago, it went up to I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but 10 degrees Celsius, and then it drops down to minus 11. Just within a few hours.
Well, that's because they're messing with the jet stream, and when they start messing with something upstream or downstream, everyone is affected. I mean, they're playing God with the jet stream, with the weather, and really they're just trying to create order out of chaos, right?
So
ultimately,
what's their official statement on all this? I mean, with Haarp, what's their official statement on all this?
They spoke about it in D.C. in front of Congress. And they said that that they shut down Haarp, that they were done testing with the ionospheric steering, that they're moving on to different technologies. Right? What they do is they admit to it after the fact.
Okay. Every
time, right? So now they're admitting to chemtrails, but they say it's for XYZ. I mean, it's really going to be an uphill battle from here. They say they're launching in 2 weeks this Bill Gates funded global solar geoengineering experiment that lasts until 2020. And this is public. Yesterday they said this. In 2 weeks, they're launching. So it'll be interesting to see if we have any blue skies after that ever again.
And again, here, I think for the whole month of January and pretty much into February, it was the sun was non-existent. And, I flew down to Florida for 2 weeks, and I'm like, wow. Yeah, I saw the chemtrails down there. I saw the contrails, whatever else. But it's here. It was completely. It just seemed like blocked completely. I don't know, Alex. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't notice that.
No, like January was like there was next to no sunny days at all. It was all dull.
Oh yeah, this winter's been very dull in general. Yeah.
Do you have any? I've witnessed that. I look back at photos. You know how like Facebook will say photo from 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Everything was blooming this time. The sun has literally been cut by a large percentage. There's this pan evaporation test where water is no longer evaporating at the rate that it did even just a couple years ago because we're losing so much sunlight, and the plants are really being affected.
It's just insane. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I want to talk about some of the human effects, like the diseases and stuff like that might be a part of this. And more, obviously, we'll get more into Frankenskies as well. Okay, Matt?
Sounds great.
Folks, just hold tight. We're going to take a short break here. Thank you for tuning in. We're here live with Matt Landman, and his film is called Frankenskies. We'll get all the information out there for you guys to GoFundMe and everything else, YouTube, everything that you need to look into to know more about all this. So hold tight. We'll be right back. You're listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here live on New Visions Radio.
The devil showed him all the kingdoms of the world and said, "All this I will give you, if you will bow down and worship me."
There was no pearly gate. The only reason I knew I was in a cave was because I had just passed the entrance. The rock wall rose behind me with no ceiling in sight. I knew this was it. This was what religion talked about, what man feared. I had just entered the gate to hell. I felt the presence of the cave as if it was a living, breathing creature. The stench of rotten flesh overwhelmed me. Then there was the voice. It came from inside and all around. "Welcome." "Who are you?" I asked, trying to keep my composure. "You know," the thing answered. I did know. "You are the devil," I stuttered, quickly losing my composure. "Why me? I've lived as good as I could." The silence took over the space as my words died out. It seemed like an hour went by before the response came. "What did you expect?" The voice was penetrating, but patient. "I don't know. I never believed any of this," I uttered. "Is that why I am here?" Silence. I continued. "They say the greatest trick you ever pulled was convincing the world you don't exist." "No, the greatest trick I ever pulled was convincing the world that there is an alternative." "There is no God?" I shivered. The cave trembled with the words. "I am God."
Before going to Port Robinson Road, I would have been one of those guys that you told me that you were going on a ghost hunt. I wouldn't necessarily laugh at you, but I would think to myself, yeah, that's a waste of time. You know, there's really no point in going.
Port Robinson Road is not a horror film, and it shouldn't be confused with the mainstream Hollywood horror films of today. It's a mystery, thriller, drama, and I don't think it's anything that's ever been done before, at least not in this way. And I think it's vital to the paranormal world that a film like this takes itself seriously. I don't think there are too many films of this nature that take themselves too seriously, and this one does. At least I'm taking it very seriously, and that is why I think it's about time that something like this was brought to the forefront. Visit PortRobinsonRoad.com for more information on the feature paranormal film in development.
But going to Port Robinson Road really just took my eyes and peeled them right open and said, you know what? There's the possibility for this to be out there.
You are listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio, hosted by Steve Jenny and his satanic assistant, Alex Rodini, both of whom can't go into churches without vomiting.
Southern Ontario Paranormal Society has been investigating and researching the claims of the paranormal since 2005, taking a scientific look but never neglecting the spiritual. We are a non-profit and we will travel most of Southern Ontario and many parts of the United States. Contact us at support@sopsinvestigations.com or visit our website at www.sopsinvestigations.com. And welcome back to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here live exclusively on the New Visions Radio Network. And we have Matt Landman on his film, Frankenskies. Incredible stuff so far, Matt. Again, I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a great honor to have you on and the information that you're sharing. I want to sort of touch base a little bit about, I guess, some of the afflictions or the diseases and sickness that's, linked to all this. And one that kind of I've been doing a little bit of research on, and I know you know some stuff about it. I just want to get your take on it, and that's Morgellons.
That's an interesting one. I knew we'd end up talking about it. And what about it do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, okay, I guess the possible link between the two, chemtrails or however, and the chemicals that are involved. And because, I mean, obviously the CDC haven't come out and said this is an actual disease. They're tiptoeing around this. Mm-hmm. They've been for years. But, I mean, let's face it, there are people that have this strange affliction that we know as Morgellons, and you can't just they're just trying to throw it to the side, to the curb.
Yeah, no, it's pretty sad, especially for those afflicted. I'll preface all this with this is only my opinion.
Okay.
And it's all you can do is take in all the information and go with your gut, right?
Yeah.
And we all come to our own truths in different ways, and eventually, like, everybody will be on the same page. But this one's pretty new, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, so basically, the Morgellons, for those of you that don't know, is Morgellons. It's an affliction that people get where these fibers start growing out of their skin and their scalp, and oftentimes the fibers are a bright blue or purple, like this neon kind of color, and then when you and they don't seem very natural, right? And when you go into the doctors, they see these crazy fibers growing out of you, and they go to their doctor's handbook, and in there it says that it's a psychological condition where you are like bringing it upon yourself through the power of your brain, like the placebo effect. Now, we all know the placebo effect. We've heard about that, and it's very scientifically proven, right? They've done studies and this and that, and people can cure themselves by thinking that they're taking something and what have you. So the power of the human mind is very strong. I'm not going to doubt that or argue that. But taking an entire condition and just blanket lying people in the face that are suffering and saying, no, it's a psychological condition, we can't treat it, go see a shrink, that's completely treasonous to the people that you're supposed to be treating. I mean, these are like a crime. Like, you're going into the doctor's office and you're being treated like a mental patient. They take the Hippocratic Oath, and that's a direct violation of that. So let me just note that. So what it is you end up with these fibers, and then no one treats you, and sometimes it gets out of control, and sometimes it regresses, but it's these weird, sometimes they glow in the dark, and there are these fibers that are growing out of you. Now, people have linked it to chemtrails because why? Because it's in places where there's a lot of spraying, and people have, I mean, I don't know why there's this direct link to it. There's a scientist out of Germany. His name is Harold Kraus-Vela, and he was hired by Sweden. He's a nanoscientist. He was hired Norway. He was hired to investigate crop failures, and he found out that it was coming from aerosols, and he started digging and found out that from the planes, these aerosols were falling on the plants and frying these plants and killing them. At a molecular, he started examining the fallout in the soils and in the rainwater, and has found this Morgellons weird, alive, very foreign, highly advanced, which is very much worth noting, highly advanced technology that seems to be in some of the aerosols.
Oh, wow. I did not know. That is, okay.
And so people are getting these afflictions, and they're linking it to the chemtrails. And then what the afflictions are this, like, it seems like that the people's DNA is being morphed, and that they're having this reaction. And what I've been told is that this agent is almost in everything, that a lot of people, almost everyone has been exposed to it, but the people that show signs of Morgellons have gotten basically too much too fast.
Wow.
Is what it is. And so, I'm not an expert on it, but I do plan on including it in the second film, Frankenskies 2, because the first one is to slowly bring the conversation to the forefront, and the next one is talking to the experts about the crazy stuff, like the more layered things, because it's just a huge topic. So what people say about the Morgellons is that it is this transhumanism agenda that involves, chipping us and having this, what do they call it, where we're all one, singularity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, singularity.
They want to, there's this push to get everybody connected and half robotic, if you're familiar with the Borg and what have you. And there's this, what some people theorize is that there is a interdimensional attack from a AI type.
And when you say that, it's strange that you mention that, because we had Stan Scamille on, who's out there in Vancouver, I believe, who heads up the Morgellons Society out there, I believe. He says pretty much the same thing that you're saying. Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was the stuff that's being sprayed, the nanotechnology is actually attacking the human DNA, and obviously the human our defenses are trying to ward this off, can't, and this is sort of the byproduct of what's happening within the body, sort of thing. But not only that, the sort of, if you will, alien aspect that you're mentioning now, he brought up that as well.
Yeah, that's interesting, and And really, it's something that I've kind of been putting on the back burner because I know that I'm going to be diving deep into it in the sequel. And I just wanted to focus on the basics, as complicated as the basics.
Okay, yeah,
but
that's perfect.
From what I can gather,
yeah,
humanity is on course for a spiritual evolution of sorts, right? And it's ingrained in our DNA, and it's inevitable, right? For some reason, there's these lower dimensional entities or these jackass humans. I mean, if they're human and they're really messing with us, it's totally treasonous, but whatever. Maybe it's just a bunch of cowards. But either way, they want to prevent this elevation of consciousness that we're all due for, right?
Yep.
And if they can tweak our ever-evolving DNA to make it stop evolving, then maybe they think that they can tweak us into some robotic version of humanity that they can easily enslave, basically, that doesn't have this spiritual awakening. Yeah, that's, I said it there. I said it.
Alex, we got somebody has a question for you.
Yes, that's right. Christina in chat asked about what do you think about the release of the new Cloud Atlas, including homogenitus?
So that's interesting that you asked that, because the news over the past few days has been completely synchronized. And when you can look at it from an outside perspective, because we're all truthers, right? Like we all embrace truth, and truth is this like vibration that's everything is you can see with your own eyes. You know what I mean? And when you start seeing through the crap, you can see this agenda at play. And well, they came out with, they're going to go full scale with this Bill Gates funded geoengineering. They're calling it geoengineering. Heaven forbid they call it cloud formation, because then people would know that these new clouds are associated with this, right? So they say, we're going to block out the sun with aerosols in the sky. They don't mention clouds. They don't mention chemtrails, heaven forbid. And then the Weather Channel, who they own, just the same. 20 years ago, we had 80 companies that ran all the media in the world. Now we have 6.
6, yes.
6 companies own all the media on Earth. So it's like the same families own the Weather Channel that are, Bill Gates, basically. We can just say it. Bill Gates, he and his cronies own everything, and they're evil, evidently. But yeah, they synchronize it, and they think we're dumb enough that we're not going to notice, and they come out with all these new cloud words right at the same time that they come out with the fact that they're going to be spraying the skies with aerosols, patented aerosols, which are cloud formations, but they leave that out, right? And then we're supposed to not see the correlation that there's all these new clouds. I mean, they came out with like dozens of new cloud names. And they make it look all exciting, Like, oh, congratulations, cloud lovers! There's all these new clouds, but they don't mention why they didn't exist, 20 years ago. Like clouds, you know what I mean? Like clouds have been around for hundreds of years. How are these new clouds coming up? They don't mention that. They just say, oh, and they call it species. They say there's a new species of clouds around. Like, last time I was learning biology, right? Like King Philip came over for good spaghetti, right? You remember that one?
Yeah.
Kingdom finally ordered whatever species. They didn't include clouds, right? These are for animals. Like, who are they kidding? Species of clouds. It just makes me sick. So yeah, coming up with all these new names. So
wait. Is that like saying Pluto's not a planet anymore? Sorry.
Right. So they come out with all these new names.
Yeah.
And then people like me come along, and I'm like, look, I've got this movie, Wake Up, they've been spraying us, and they're manipulating the weather and the transhumanism agenda, and they're blocking out our sun, and, whatever they're doing with that nonsense, terraforming the planet, or just trying to be completely in control of who gets rain and who gets sunshine, maybe that's just that they want to control who gets sunshine. That's like the ultimate control, right? Who gets rain, who gets sunshine, water and sun. That's like what we live on. That's how our plants grow. Either way, they want people to feel smart. That is what it is. People, they're like, oh, solar geoengineering via Bill Gates, and they read some article that's completely brainwashing with these new cloud names, homo papa papa pa, and they're quoting these articles when I approach them, right? Because they feel all smart with their new knowledge, but it's just a brainwash, and they have no idea. Is how I feel about that, Christina.
Okay, let's get back to. Oh my God, we're running out of time here. Let's get back to Frankenskies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're releasing it at the which conference again?
So you heard me on Clyde Lewis's Ground Zero Radio, and they're hosting a conference with a handful of speakers in Portland on the 14th, 15th.
Okay.
I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'm screening the film there.
Okay.
And then especially at the Global Chemtrail Summit in Portland, which if anybody can make it to Portland, this is our year, really. I mean, if they're going public with it, this is our year. And people have traveled thousands of miles to go to the last one and other such events. But this one, are you familiar with any of these names? We've got Ilana Freeland. She's an author. She's coming out with a second book on chemtrails about the space fence. Clyde Lewis will be speaking as well and giving a presentation. He has a background in he was going to be a meteorologist at one point.
I remember that. Yeah.
I mean, he's great. He's eloquent.
Oh, I've been listening to him for years. The guy's just incredible.
Mm-hmm. And then I'll be there speaking. Patrick Roddy will be there speaking. Jim Lee, I mentioned his website earlier. He'll be speaking. And then Max Egan. Do you know the name Max Egan?
Sounds familiar. I'm not. It does sound familiar.
He's an activist out of Australia, and he has a nanotechnology chemtrail film from a few years ago that's quite good. So we have a nice lineup, and what I really want is to bring it to the forefront, to have this conversation publicly. Like all this BS of is it real, is it not, we're spraying you. I mean, come on. It's time to have the conversation.
Yeah.
It's time to get it to the forefront. And so I want not only to pack the house, but I want to get people involved that are not in the circle already, like GMO activists and vaccine activists and people that are out there speaking already, like Cynthia McKinney, that are well known. They need to touch the subject because it's being disclosed, like full-on disclosure that they're going to be doing it in 2 weeks. Okay, well, if they're going to be doing it in 2 weeks, then we're going to be getting sprayed on May 7th in Portland. So it's time to have the conversation.
Well, absolutely. And there's no more saying if, as you say it, if are they. They are. I mean, it is happening. And it's just a matter of getting people to understand that this is a reality. This isn't conspiracy. It's not conspiracy. This is a reality.
Yeah, and it's actually it's shameful. Like I shame them. It's really sad. This is actually treasonous. I included a link in the chat just a minute ago that I'd love to go over.
Yeah.
So is that okay?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So when really sinking your teeth into this thing, it's important to understand that this is a full-on agenda, okay? And they've been planning this for years, okay? In 95, the U.S. Air Force came out with a paper, Owning the Weather by 2025, all right? That was in 95. Here, this article that I posted at the Forum for Climate Engineering Assessment, there was a meeting on November 4th, 2013, okay? There's a meeting in Washington, D.C., and they call it the Civil Society Meeting Report. I had to read. This is only like 5 paragraphs or 10 paragraphs. It's not that long of a link of an article. It is so dense with information and big ass words that I had to read this thing 10 times to really grasp what was going on. Okay, The Civil Society Meeting Report. Okay, this meeting brought together around 40 people from all of these different fields, okay? And it's all these civil society actors. And they keep referencing civil society actors. And you're like, well, what is a civil society actor? And you look that up on Google, and it says the non-governmental members of society convincing the public of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, wait a second, these are actors that are not in the government, but they're actors.
Okay.
And they're to persuade the public of things.
All right.
Okay, that's like the media, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the media and it's plants, people that are planted to deter like fake activists, like They've done that before. It's controlled opposition.
Okay.
They'll do it again. They've done it before, and they always have done it. All right? Black Panthers, all of it. You know, they sold crack in the ghettos. We all know this stuff. So they had this meeting in 2013 with these select 40 people. These are the primary chemtrail activists that are on their side. This is the media, like Fox News, everybody, all these guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in this meeting, they literally discuss the reluctance of the public to engage in geoengineering. And they say, well, how are we going to start this conversation? How are we going to, quote, normalize the discussion, right? And they say, well, first we need to frame the debate. First we need to start telling everybody it's a horrible idea, but that will frame it. So then the other side will be it's a good idea. So they're like, all right, perfect. So in 2013, right after this, I've got a stack of articles that came out via all these different publications saying this is a terrible choice. We should not do geoengineering. It's risky. Okay? But then a few months later, they're saying, well, maybe it's a good idea because we need to save ourselves from global warming. Don't you feel bad about driving your car around? Your carbon emissions are killing us. So we got to block out the sun. It's all your fault. So they planned the entire thing. They even go as far to say that society is not good at strategy, but we are. And we can do this. We can run circles around society and get them eating out of our hands and get them saying, oh, this thing is good. Oh, this thing is bad. And oh, yeah, we need it. And thank you. And give me a carbon tax for it, please.
Oh, yeah. Alex, what is it on the gas here?
Are you talking about the price?
The carbon tax. How much was it? 4 cents? 4 cents.
It's high.
It's
high.
It's ridiculous. This is, yeah. Okay. Sorry, Matt. Sorry.
No. I know. I read about Toronto and your area actually being one of the first regions to get a carbon tax.
It's ridiculous.
I forgot about that. So it's actually going on.
It's affecting the gas price. I mean, what's the price of gas out that way?
It's about $1.09.
No, Matt on the West Coast.
$1.30 a liter.
Wow. Holy, $1.30. Wow, I thought we were bad. Well, what is it, Alex? $1.04, $1.08.
It hovers between $1.04 to $1.09, depending.
Yeah, but you're next to all the refineries. Anybody closer to Calgary gets it all cheap. So you do have a carbon tax in there, and that carbon tax goes towards spraying you with nanoparticulate.
Exactly. I mean, it was what, 98 cents before that tax went into play. They said 4 cents. I don't think it's ever been around the 4 cents since. It's a total scam.
Oh, yeah, and so now they're coming out with carbon capture technology, and they're saying, oh, yeah, no, we're capturing the carbon. Okay, first off, carbon is good, and it helps plants. And
exactly.
Do you remember when they said we were going into an ice age? How old are you guys? Do you remember?
Oh, I remember that.
And then they just flipped the script, and they said, oh, no one cares that they're going to be under a mile of ice. And people were like, well, what am I going to do? I'll be under a mile of ice. So they flipped the script, and they started pushing this global warming thing and telling everybody they should be feeling bad about driving their cars. And then they were like, well, we can create little heat waves and alter this data and then spray them with chemicals.
Matt, we need to bring you back on.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'd love to have you back on. I know we'd love to have you back on, and because I mean, there's so much, climate change right there, but it's a whole nother ballgame. Get any your YouTube stuff out, your whatever you want people to know to get in touch with you and to support Frankenskies. Get it all out there.
Well, I don't have very many followers on YouTube. So Matt Landman on YouTube. I've got this presentation from Eugene, Oregon that puts it all together. And then I've got a Cal State presentation on there. I've got the trailer for Frankenskies. On the GoFundMe, gofundme.com/Frankenskies is an opportunity to contribute even $15 and you get a DVD. That's not that much to ask. And then I've got Actual Activists, plural, actualactivist.com. It's a website I just launched that the goal there is to get the linking. We've got to link it all together. I mean, the division is so vast. We've got people saying that they're anti-vaccine, but they won't believe in chemtrails. And the people that are anti-chemtrails, they still are vaccinating their children and drinking fluoride, right? like as far as I see it, at least vaccines, fluoride, GMO, and chemtrails need to be under the same umbrella.
It's funny. Sorry to cut you off. It's funny because you posted an article, and I had to repost it because it made. Come on, that tanker with the fluoride. That's spilt there, and it's a toxic scene. Wait a sec, yet they put it in our drinking water and everything else.
Yeah, I was happy to see that one get around. Yeah, for those of you that aren't that don't know about this one, in Los Angeles County, I believe it was, in Southern California, there was a truck delivering fluoride to put into the drinking supply, and it crashed. And people immediately were, killed by it, right? Even a drop of that stuff on your skin will kill you. It's a neurotoxin, and it calcifies your pineal gland. It makes you lower IQ. Harvard studies even show that children drinking it get lower IQ. And if it's good for your teeth, then and it's not supposed to be in your bloodstream, according to your toothpaste, right? The toothpaste says, do not swallow this. It's poisonous. Then why are they putting it in the drinking water? That's one that really pisses me off.
Well, we had an accident here, too.
Oh, we're talking about one up there? Cool.
Yeah, another one out this way.
Cool. I mean, horrible.
Yeah, it's incredible. Matt, I want to thank you again, and we'd love to have you back. And maybe sometime after Frankenskies is released or whatever, we would love to have you back.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let me know. And I mean, I'm here for, to get the word out, of course.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you, and you guys keep up the good work.
Okay,
Thanks,
take
Matt.
care.
Have a good night.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Incredible stuff. And again, I mean, it's there. It's there. It's a part of our society, and most people will just turn a blind eye to. Chemtrails are a reality.
Yeah.
I mean, governments will have, for many years, admitted to spraying chemicals in various ways. And how could you definitely ignore something like this? Anyways, I'm looking forward to Frankenskies. I really, really, I want to, it'd be good to see a full-on film that, really dives deep into the chemtrail world, and all sorts of Haarp and weather modification and so on and so on. There's so much that's intertwined here. 2 hours just doesn't do it. So it'd be great to have Matt back on.
Yeah, and we better do it before you lose your voice too.
I know. Let's quickly get that out. We're going to have a contest starting Monday, right?
Yeah.
And we'll just do a basic trivia. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. A basic trivia will be on our Facebook group, and basically we'll give out a winner day, right?
Yeah, something like that.
A winner, one ticket a day. We will award a winner to the upcoming Mid-South Paranormal Conference in Kentucky there. Again, keep an eye on our Facebook group if you're interested. You want a ticket, you want to go. We'll get all the information out, including the trivia question and everything else, all on our Facebook group. Again, if you're not a part of it, please join. Just go to Facebook, type in the search box, Nocturnal Frequency Radio, and bang, you're right there. It's elementary, easy. Next week, who do we got? Keith H. Keith H. No, Dan is the following week.
Oh, the following week.
Yeah. Next week we have Keith H. coming on, who is
Keith.
Yes, responsible for the Mid-South. So we're going to be caught up on all that. And April 7th? Oh, man, I need my calendar here.
April 9th.
April 9th, sorry. April 9th, we're going to have Dan Ellis on to talk about Corpsewood, his novel, his book, Corpsewood.
Very intriguing story.
Oh, man. Guys, if you're into true crime and, it's got a bit of everything. I mean,
A little bit of the occult.
the occult, Satanism, the supernatural, true crime, you name it. Look into Corpsewood Manor for the full story.
Yeah, there's a couple of Facebook groups actually that deal with Corpsewood as well, like the estate. What's been going on recently, and I think they're doing tours, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, anyway, look into it on Facebook. Just look up Corpsewood, Corpse Wood, and you should be able to find it.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And I want to thank Matt for joining us. And again, we'd love to have him back on. There's just so much to talk about. Until next, here I go, losing my voice again. Until next, puberty. It's those burritos. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Until next Sunday, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next weekend. Okay, next Sunday, same time. Take care, everyone. You've listened to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here live exclusively on the New Visions Radio Network. Have a good
great night, everyone.
Have a good week, guys.
Nocturnal Frequency Radio with your hosts, Steve and Alex. You've tuned into Nocturnal Frequency Radio with your hosts,